Good evening, and thank you for joining tonight's telephone town hall meeting hosted by the Colorado Department of Transportation, also known as CDOT, for the Your Transportation Plan discussion, which it's a statewide transportation planning effort. We are simulcasting tonight's event in Spanish, and I'm going to pause and ask our translator to make a quick announcement. Go ahead.
Saludos. Saludos. Si desean participar en español, por favor oprima el asterisco y luego 0.
All right, gracias. I'm Roger, and I'll be your moderator tonight as we talk about transportation in the Transportation Commission District 6, including Clear Creek, Gilpin, Grand, Jackson, Moffat, Routt, and Rio Blanco counties. Our panel members tonight include Transportation Commissioner Rick Ryder and the CDOT Regional Transportation District Director for Northwest Colorado, Jason Smith. Before we begin with our introduction by Herman Stockinger, who is CDOT's Deputy Executive Director, I wanted to take just a moment to tell you about the format for tonight's call. We want to hear from you, so if you would like to ask our panel a question, please press *3 on your telephone keypad. You will be transferred to an operator who will take down some basic information. Once the operator notes your information, you will be returned to the call and can listen to the conversation until you are called upon it. So press *3 on your keypad to ask a question. If you want to view the slides that accompany tonight's call, log on to CDOT's YouTube page at tiny.cc/CDOT-TTH6. So C.CDOT-TTH6. tiny.cc/CDOT-TTH6. Additionally, CDOT has launched a 2050 statewide plan survey that you can take. That survey is available at tiny.cc/CDOT-YTP 2050, and that stands for CDOT, Your Transportation Plan 2050. Now, if you didn't have a pen or pencil nearby, which I don't blame you, grab one now, and I'll repeat those links for you in just a couple of minutes. Since our panel would like to hear from as many as possible, we'll limit all callers to just one question, and when it's your turn, I'll call your name and ask you to repeat your question for our live audience. Finally, we'll be asking 4 important polling questions later during the call, and I will explain that process to you in just a few minutes. Now, before we get to your questions and introduce our panelists, I'd like to turn it over to Deputy Director Stockinger for some opening remarks. Herman, go ahead.
Thanks, Roger. I'm Herman Stockinger, CDOT's Deputy Executive Director. Every 4 years, CDOT reviews Colorado's transportation needs and creates a plan to guide future investments, and we need your help. Our transportation dollars are limited, and with a state as large and as diverse as Colorado, we want your feedback on CDOT's priorities and how best to distribute our limited resources. CDOT's first priority is to fix our roads. We know potholes don't fix themselves, and that safer, smoother roads mean fewer accidents, lower repair bills, and a better quality of life. Our second priority is advancing transportation safety. Everybody deserves to get home safely, whether by driving, walking, biking, or riding transit. Transportation safety isn't optional, it's essential. Our third priority is to sustainably increase transportation choice. This means ensuring people have transportation options to get where they need to go. And the more ways we can move without a car, the cleaner air we will all breathe. CDOT is taking an aggressive approach to address the condition and quality of our roadway pavement and other transportation assets. This citizen-informed transportation planning approach will produce smarter investment priorities based on what Coloradans need today and position our state for the future, reflecting the wisdom that you bring to the conversation. CDOT understands that every part of Colorado has unique qualities, and this telephone town hall is all about listening to you. So let us know what's working well and what can be improved. We're looking forward to hearing your questions and comments, so please press *3 to get in the queue. Roger, back to you.
Thank you, Herman. Now it's time to turn the call over to panelists to briefly introduce themselves. We'll start with a friend who I've known for 20 years, and I mispronounced his last name. I'm lucky if I'm not fired tonight. Rick Ryder, Transportation Ritter. What did I just say? Ryder. And go ahead, Rick. Thanks for being a good gentleman on this.
Oh, it's wonderful to be here. Thank you very much, and thank you, Herman, for giving a good overview of what CDOT does. I'm Rick Ritter. I'm the Transportation Commissioner for District 6. And as Transportation Commissioner member in the Commission, we take a look at and we make policy for the management, construction, and maintenance of public highways and other transportation systems here in Colorado. I'm very fortunate to represent the area in which I live, work, and play, and I'm able to take recommendations directly to the governor and General Assembly while working with CDOT to prioritize construction projects. Now I'll let Jason Smith, RTD for Region 3, introduce himself. And as a reminder, please press *3 to get into the queue to ask a question. We want to hear from you.
Thank you, Commissioner. This is Jason Smith. I've been the Regional Transportation Director since 2022 and with CDOT for the last 25 years, working my way from design engineer to resident engineer, then to program engineer, and now to the RTD for the region. CDOT is an amazing organization, providing much more than just winter operations and plowing snow. We have an entire team of engineering professionals that plan, design, and oversee construction of highway projects, along with many support specialties, such as right-of-way surveyors, utilities, materials experts, and environmental experts. I've been involved with multiple long-range planning cycles and have seen many great projects, large and small, that have resulted from this process. I'm excited to be on today's call and to get a chance to respond to questions. Again, please press *3 to get yourself into the queue to ask questions.
All right, thank you both for those introductions. As I mentioned earlier, if you want to view the slides that accompany tonight's call, log in to CDOT's YouTube page at tiny.cc/CDOT TT86. Additionally, CDOT has launched a 2050 statewide plan survey that you can take, and that survey is available at tiny.cc/CDOT YTP 2050. To get us started, let's ask our first polling question about CDOT's priority to fix our roads. Fixing our roads means prioritizing strategic investments in Colorado's highways to improve infrastructure conditions. It's easy to participate. All you have to do is use your telephone keypad to enter the number of your response. Here's our first question. What is your biggest concern with the current condition of our roads? Press 1 for potholes and surface damage. Press 2 for lack of maintenance or repaving. Press 3 for poor bridge conditions. And press 4 for none of the above. So 1 for potholes and surface damage, 2 for lack of maintenance or repaving, 3 for poor bridge conditions, and 4 for none of the above. Record your vote now. I'll share the results with you in just a moment. And while you're voting, I'll say it again, press *3 if you'd like to get into the queue to ask a question or give us feedback. We really do want to hear from you. Now let's get back and hear more from Jason Smith, the Regional Director for CDOT. Jason, would you tell us a little bit more about some of the challenges and accomplishments in your area?
Yes. Transportation Commission District 6, which includes Clear Creek, Gilpin, Grand, Jackson, Moffat, Routt, and Rio Blanco counties, and encompasses just over 14,300 square miles of northwest Colorado with a population of 77,655 people. By 2050, the population will grow to over 86,000 people. This area also has just under 2,000 lane miles of roadway, with 574 of those roadway miles on US 40. Within these 7 counties, CDOT collaborates with 29 local governments on a regular basis to identify solutions to traffic-related issues. In response to the growth and our unique transportation needs, CDOT has completed several projects or has several projects under construction since our last 2045 regional plan effort. Some of those projects include the I-70 Floyd Hill improvements, US 40 passing lanes around Kremling, US 40 Downhill Drive and Steamboat, which construction is going on this summer. State Highway 13 north of Craig, it was a widening paving project that also had wildlife mitigation. Progress is being made, so this is the key takeaway here. While there are a lot more needs that still need to be addressed, your input and participation results in real improvements for our area.
All right, we're going to be getting to your questions real quick, so press star 3 to get in line. We appreciate your participation. Here are the results for our first survey question. The question was, what is your biggest concern with the current conditions of our roads? 62% of you said potholes and surface damage. 30% said none of the above, so we'll would like to hear what your concerns are. Press star 3. And 8% said lack of maintenance or repaving. We just heard about a number of completed and planned projects, many of which are focused on safety. Now let's ask another polling question about safety. Remember to participate, use your phone, and enter the number of your response. The question is about CDOT's priority to advance transportation safety. This means no matter where you're going or how you're getting there, Colorado is committed to providing you a safe and efficient transportation network so you arrive at your destination safely. Here's that question. What is your biggest safety concern? Press 1 for speeding or reckless driving. Press 2 for lack of sidewalks, bike lanes, or unsafe access to public transportation. Press 3 for dangerous intersections or crosswalks. Press 4 for winter weather driving, and press 5 for wildlife collisions. So 1 for speeding or reckless driving, 2 for lack of sidewalks, bike lanes, or safe access to public transportation. Press 3 for dangerous intersections and crosswalks, 4 for winter weather driving, and 5 for wildlife collisions. Record your answer now. We'll share the results in just a moment. Again, press star 3, just like our first question caller did. Sonia, you are live. Go right ahead.
Oh, hi. Sonia Macy's. I'm a Routt County Commissioner, and I am interested in highway safety on 40. I think we all know that Highway 40 is a very dangerous highway that's used often when Glenwood Canyon is closed. So my question is, 1, how quickly can we get our Mountain Rail project advanced? And 2, can CDOT help us hold schools accountable for situations they create in which they are putting children at risk in crossing Highway 40? Thank you.
Well, let me see if I can take that one, Sonia. This is Commissioner Rick Ritter. In terms of the passenger rail from Denver to Craig, I think that we are moving very rapidly on the process. We should be finished the initial studying by midsummer of this midsummer, and we'll be looking at least initial rail from Denver to the Granby area on a frequent basis in the next 2 to 3 years. In terms of ultimately train service all the way to Craig, we're going to have to take it in a two-step process, in the sense that we're looking for service from Craig to Steamboat, and then in addition to that Granby to Denver segment. The latter portion, that Steamboat to Craig, probably again 2 to 4 years before that occurs. Breaking up that middle area, really from maybe as far from Oak Creek to Granby, may be a little bit more cumbersome due to the age of the track and the switching facilities. So that may take us upwards to 6 to 8 years. In terms of your second questions, in terms of crossings, I know which one of which you speak, and we are looking at multiple other ways of financing such a crossing there in Routt County.
Okay, thank you. Beverly is next. Again, if you want to get in the line to ask a question, we've got a crack panel here ready to give you a great answer. So press star 3. Beverly, you are up. Go ahead.
Hi, I'm Beverly. I'm in Steamboat Springs in Routt, and Sonia asked one of my questions, which was about Denver Rail, so I'm glad that's covered. My primary concern is that here in the Western Slope, in Steamboat and Craig and Grand Junction, et cetera, we often are required to travel on I-70, I-40, Highway 6, and I-25 just for necessary things like medical appointments, visits with family, et cetera. We're pretty isolated, and travel is required just to meet our basic health and other needs. And I-70 has always been a notorious death trap, in my opinion. So I wanted to ask about the implementation of Denver Rail, and Sonia covered that. Currently, I'm seeing a lot of progress in I-40 and also some things with I-70. I was pleased to read about updated chain laws for I-70 for truckers. At this time, our best option for traveling from Steamboat to the Denver area is the bus staying, which is phenomenal. It's only $18 or so because we're seniors. So we have bus staying that takes us down, and we're waiting for the train. My question is, since I-70 is just so notoriously dangerous, followed, I'd say, by I-25, until the train is implemented, and since bus staying is our only public transportation option at this time, are there any other projects in the works to provide ongoing transportation of a public nature to people on the Western Slope having to travel over to the Front Range for work, medical appointments, and family visits? Thank you much.
Thank you, Beverly. This is Jason Smith, Regional Director. We're working on I-70. We know that it is the major corridor to the Western Slope, and many people depend on it on a daily basis. And we're trying to do everything we can to look at resiliency, what we can do to make the I-70 commute much easier and operations improved. Some of the things we're looking at right now, Glenwood Canyon, we're doing some projects trying to add some of that resiliency, making improvements to make it more robust so we don't see as many accidents in the canyon, which we know creates a long detour route and really cuts off some of the trucking and some of the regular use of the highway for many of the commuters even in that area. Which is not convenient for sure. So we're doing things like trying to do rockfall mitigation, looking at different improvements we can make in there. You've probably seen a lot of different changes in the canyon itself over the past few years because some of the truck accidents we've had. So we're trying to delineate better, sign better, do many improvements that'll help people slow down also in the canyon with variable speed limit changes. We also have Bell Pass. We're making improvements for operations up there, adding an auxiliary lane in some areas, along with other infrastructure improvements with the bridges, and hopefully create that capacity that can help clear out a little quicker whenever we're going over the pass when we do have accidents, and it'll give a little bit more room for drivers to get around whenever there is somebody stranded or stopped on the pass. We also are fixing one of the major curves in that area on, I think it's milepost 186. It's one of the worst areas for concentration of accidents on I-70, and so we're going to be able to straighten that curve out and make it a little better for alignment. And then we also have our Floyd Hill project, which is over in Region 1 on the other side of the Continental Divide, but it's also going to make more capacity improvements there that'll help and to also then realign the road so it takes out some of the curves and it'll help improve operations throughout that corridor.
All right, let's hear next from Michael. Go ahead. You are live.
Oh, thank you. My name is Michael. I live in Meeker, Colorado, which is in Rio Blanco County, and I travel somewhat frequently to Denver and back. And my question, I'm glad you touched on the Glenwood Canyon because one of my big question addresses basically the entirety of I-70 is pretty bad with potholes and things, but specifically in Glenwood Canyon, and the area I'm thinking of is just before the Hidden Valley exit, about a mile before it. There's like 3 or 4 bridge seams before that exit that are horrendous. It blew my car out of alignment. I've been meaning to jump online and lodge a complaint about it. But if you're in the fast lane, that's the last bridge seam before you get to that exit, just absolutely horrible. It's like hitting a log in the road. And I was just curious if there's anything in the works to address that.
Yes, Michael. This is Jason Smith again, the Regional Director, and I'm glad you brought that up. It is a problem, and we've been experiencing some of these bridge joints. The canyon itself is getting about 30 years old in infrastructure, and so we're seeing a lot of problems with those modular joints in the canyon. And actually this summer, you're going to see some construction start here soon. We'll be out there replacing approximately 20 of those bridge joints that are starting to give us some problems, and so they're the worst ones. There'll be future projects also to fix more of them, but this will be a good start for us.
All right, thank you very much. We'll get back to more questions in a few minutes, so press star 3 to get in line. For those of you that joined the call late, good evening. I'm Roger, and I'm your moderator tonight as we talk about your transportation plan, Colorado's statewide transportation planning effort with Transportation Commissioner Rick Ritter and the CDOT Regional Transportation Director for Northwest Colorado, Jason Smith. You can participate by pressing star 3 on your keypad. You'll be transferred to an operator who will take down some basic information and get you in the queue. So that's star 3 on your keypad to ask a question. Before I turn it back over to the Commissioner, here are the results of our second polling question. We asked, what is your biggest safety concern? 23% of you said speeding, reckless driving. 23% also said sidewalks, bike lanes, and safe access to public transportation. And 23% of you said winter weather driving. Pretty split there. Commissioner Ritter, would you tell us a little bit more about progress and challenges for the area?
Thank you very much. CDOT is in close coordination with the District 6 cities and counties and strives to continue to develop a regional transportation system that is well connected, serves all modes of travel, and is safe, reliable, and well maintained. Our region is a diverse network of vibrant, connected communities with a broad spectrum of transportation needs. Obviously, the transportation needs of Idaho Springs are very different than the transportation needs of Walden. And so we have to try to accommodate all the spectrum of those needs. Furthermore, a sustainable and resilient economy, which we want to promote in the district, relies heavily on efficient and well-connected transportation system, where all residents have access to a range of transportation options and investment in infrastructure, allowing people and businesses to thrive and prosper. As employment is estimated to continue to rise in our region, along with the increased number of both people and the movement of goods and services, particularly in the tourism industry, having a safe and efficient transportation system continues to be a critical need. And through this planning effort, we have to keep all these factors in mind as we talk about those needs and the traveling public. You, in District 6, are critical to this conversation. So keep the cards and letters coming on this. Roger?
Thank you, Rick. We had a question come in on the website that's kind of related to safety. It's the citizen said they're concerned about distracted driving. Jason and Rick, there's some new laws coming in and some new efforts on that regard. Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, you bet. There's about a year ago, the legislature passed a distracted driving law, which makes it illegal to use your phone while you are driving. And the early indications are that, it's from data that we've seen over the first 6 months of use, or actually first 4 months, is that perhaps this is working, and that there is less utility of phones by drivers, and concomitantly we're seeing a reduction in accidents and deaths.
All right, thank you. Let's get to our third polling question. Again, to participate, use your telephone keypad to enter the number of your response. Another of CDOT's main goals is to sustainably increase transportation choice, which means really, providing alternatives to single occupancy vehicle travel. And that increases choice and reduces air pollution from transportation. So here is that question. What transportation options would you like to see more of? Press 1 for public transit, buses, trains, the mountain rail. Press 2 for walking or biking infrastructure. Press 3 for ride sharing or micro transit, things like on-demand shuttles. Press 4 for safer and more accessible streets for people with disabilities. And press 5 for none of the above. You just prefer to drive. So again, 1 for public transit, 2 for walking or biking, 3 for rideshare or micro transit, 4 for safer or more accessible streets for people with disabilities, and 5 for none of the above. If you'd like to ask a question or give feedback about what sustainably increasing transportation choices means to you, please press *3. And as you're recording our votes, I'm going to mention that this might be a good time that if you don't want to speak to an operator or you need to leave the call early, you can still leave us a message or comment by pressing *9. So *3 to ask a question live or *9 to leave a voice message and leave the call. You may also provide CDOT with feedback via the online interactive survey at yourtransportationplan.com. Now let's get back to more of your questions. And Greg is first. Greg, go right ahead.
Yes, I'm a consulting engineer. I've lived in Routt County for 48 years. I hear people like the chairman of our county commission talking about rail service, but I've heard no mention there is a rail spur that is used to deliver coal to the Hayden power plant, which stops approximately a mile shy of the Yampa Valley Airport. And it seems to me that that would be a good place to start for high volume passenger service. In the winter season, there are approximately 1,200 arrivals and departures per day. And cabs right now are charging about $100 a person.
Greg, this is Commissioner Ritter. I know all about that spur. And it is certainly an element that is under consideration as a potential option, not necessarily in the immediate future, but over the course of the next few years, maybe 5 to 10 years, that we're going to be able to try to have a spur there. I think part of that will occur if there's a passage of an RTA and we get a little greater commuter rail through the area from Craig all the way down to Oak Creek. At that point, we can really look at a spur to the airport. One of the challenges that we have with passenger rail from Denver all the way to Craig is the frequency of stops. And because the more stops you got, the slower the train will take. And so we're currently thinking of stops in Steamboat and Hayden, and perhaps a shuttle bus initially to the Hayden stop from the airport. But we're well aware that there could be real potential of setting up using that spur to have passengers from the airport hop on a train that would take them directly into Steamboat.
Okay, let's hear from Matt next. Go ahead.
Hello, thank you guys for doing this town hall. I am a resident of Jackson County, owner of the Jackson County Star, and the answers that CDOT is providing is great, but it also appears like you're picking winners and losers. So my question is, what priority will be used to allocate resources for a standardized road that would benefit all counties, including having mass transit such as buses? Because I don't believe there will ever be a rail spur built to Jackson County, Gilpin County, or Clear Creek County. And I'd love to hear your responses on that.
I'll jump in there and try to give an answer to that, Matt. So some of the challenges we have, trying to figure out where we can put some of these transit connections, and prioritize them, to get them started. So we do have a transit connection study going on right now to help determine the priorities over the next few years and where the biggest bang for the buck basically would be for transit connection to get them started. So we are working on that. We're waiting for that study to be completed so we can start implementation as soon as possible with the study. As of some of our other resources and, the roadways, trying to figure out how we allocate, some of the funds to the roads. It's pretty complex in that sense of how we have our funding. It's broke up. Some of it, we really kind of have 3 different categories of funding. some of it goes to capital projects, and it goes through the planning process, which we're talking about tonight. And this is where we reach out to the public, and we also work with the transportation planning regions, and we get their feedbacks. And that transportation planning region is made up of all the local officials come together and then decide what are the priorities for that area. So that helps us tonight look at priorities and which roadways we want to focus our attention to. Some of our other funding is safety. That gets prioritized based on needs, and it has to qualify. A lot of it's based off of accident data history. And then we also have asset management dollars that we put to our roadways, and that each one of our assets has a different priority process in how we allocate the funds. Surface, for instance, we grade it by good, fair, and poor, and then it goes into the system, and it tells us how we want to prioritize our funds. So we have a model that helps us tell us where the best projects would be for the funds we have available. So I hope that helps you understand where we're at.
Thank you. Here are the results of our third survey question. We asked what transportation options would you like to see more of? 50% said public transit, buses and trains. 21% said walking or biking infrastructure, and 15% of you said none of the above. You prefer to drive. We appreciate your input. We have one more question in just a few minutes. Let's go back and hear from Ed. Go ahead, Ed.
Hi. This is Ed Regner. I live in Grant County, and I just wanted to talk about Highway 40, specifically the sections in between Winter Park and Kremling. The road is, kind of crumbling all the time, and I know we've got two projects going. A couple of the concerns, one is 40. We're seeing a lot more traffic, and a lot of folks have been talking about 70 in Glenwood. When the tunnels close in Glenwood, a lot of the commercial traffic especially gets routed through 40. And I'm wondering where that fits on the priority. We also were told, it's been acknowledged, that the road originally was laid incorrectly, so it seems like we just do repair projects but not really fix the road for the long term. So wondering where that fits on the radar.
Yeah, I can jump in there, Ed. Thanks for the question. So, US 40 is definitely our northern route that we prioritize. And like you said, we do have a couple projects this summer going on. One just a little bit to the east of Winter Park, and then another one over what we call Red Dirt Hill by the YMCA. Turnoff and access. So that's more of a reconstruct, a widening project where we're making some improvements, to turn lanes and on the hill there itself. I think you're referring to a project we did a couple years ago. We did have some trouble with a section of road up on Berthoud Pass on US 40, and the pavement was prematurely failing on us, and so we had to go in and get some additional funds from the Transportation Commission to help us figure out what we could do with it and make an emergency repair. We did that paving project. We got rid of the stuff that, like you said, it kind of fell early. It wasn't properly placed. To get down into the details a little bit, they didn't have the correct density that we were looking for, and it allowed the moisture to get into the roadway and prematurely deteriorate it. So, that's why we have our specifications. We have our engineers. We got there looking. This last project we have turned out a lot better. The conditions. We anticipate Berthoud Pass, that paving will be there for quite a while. We are also looking at, doing a study up on Berthoud Pass. We're studying and really looking at what avalanche mitigations. We've done quite a bit on the pass itself, but we're looking to see if there's anything additional that could help us for winter operations. And then, we're going through with our traffic unit and looking at where we have maybe some hot spots and what improvements we could make on the pass itself. If there's any accidents that show a repeat pattern, that we can get in there and do a project and make some repairs. So that's ongoing right now. If we identify something, we'll have to allocate some funds to make those improvements in the future. But we also are looking at Highway 40 all the way across. We do have another project coming up next year, kind of in that Fraser, Winter Park area as well with the pavement. It is a challenge for us. The conditions up there are pretty extreme, and we're trying to get on it the best we can. Our maintenance teams have been allocating a lot of their resources and time and energy up in that area as well.
All right, let's take another break and ask our final polling question. Remember to participate. Use your telephone to enter the number of your response. Here's our last question. Of CDOT's three main priority areas discussed tonight, what do you think CDOT's top priorities should be? Press 1 for fixing our roads. Press 2 for advancing transportation safety. Press 3 for sustainably increasing transportation choices. So 1 for fixing our roads, 2 for advancing transportation safety, and press 3 for sustainably increasing transportation choice. If you'd like to ask a question again or give feedback, ask about what you think about CDOT's top priorities, press star 3. And if you record your vote now, I'll share the results with you in just a minute. And we're going to go to a question that came in on the website. Why can't CDOT work on construction projects at night? It seems like night projects would go so much faster. Great question. Who wants to cover that?
I can jump in there. Okay. Yeah, it's a challenge at night, and then we are starting to do more projects at night, just honestly because of the traffic volumes we're starting to see. We do it more probably in our urban areas, not necessarily in the rural areas. Some of the challenges we have at night is safety, of course, for our teams and the contracting teams that's working out there, trying to keep them safe and visible. It seems like there's more impaired drivers on the road at night, so we struggle with that, and a lot more truck traffic at night than there used to be. So we are doing more of it. Another challenge is the quality of the projects. Some of that stuff is easier done and better done during the day. Then we can inspect it and see it. So there's that challenge, but then also the availability of product. Most of our contractors, they have teams that work during the day, so getting products delivered and things are a challenge at night a lot of times. If it's a big enough project and they can overcome those challenges and pay the extra cost, then it works. But for smaller jobs, it's pretty difficult to do sometimes.
Okay, Lonnie, you have been waiting patiently. It's your turn. Go ahead.
Hello. Hi, I'm Lonnie. I'm up in Meeker. I own Sober Buddy Shuttle, which is a small taxi service out here in the middle of nowhere. My question is about public transportation between the towns out here on 13, Rifle, Meeker, and Craig. Now, yeah, it would probably cut into some profits for me. Like somebody else mentioned, taxis out here are expensive, but it would provide a lot of seniors and a lot of people needing to get to the doctor another option to get to Rifle or to Craig for their doctor's appointments and specialty things. So that's my question. Do you have plans in the works for public transportation out here? And how soon or how far down on the priority list would they be?
Well, Lonnie, this is Commissioner Ritter. Thank you for this question because it's an issue that has come up a number of times over the last, at least since I've been on the commission, particularly in relates to transportation such as bus tank service between potentially Grand Junction and Craig. And obviously we'd go through Meeker. We are definitely looking at those options and trying to balance it against shall we say, extraordinary pressure for multiple bus tank operations throughout the state. But the simple answer is yes, we are looking at it, and hopefully that over the next couple of years we can provide some kind of public transportation through the western part of my district, all the way down into Rifle and into Grand Junction. Absolutely see the need is increasing, and that there's a demand for it.
All right, we have about 15 minutes left to take your question, so please press star 3 to get in the queue. Let's hear next, or let's go to a website question. This is pretty basic, but I think it's interesting. Will my car rust during the winter due to products CDOT's putting on the roads?
And I'll go ahead and take that one, Roger. No, overall, the cars now, they're built and they're coated to not rust. But with that, we are putting a chloride product down, whether it's, the mag chloride that we use on the roads or a salt sand blend that goes on the roads for traction. And it is a salt, and it can hold the moisture on your car. So it's good to wash that material off as frequent as you can, especially when you're traveling. across the interstate, and it's wet, to get it off of there and clear it off, and that'll help prevent your car from doing any rusting or prevent any of that long-term maintenance issues.
Okay, let's hear from Emily next. Go ahead.
Hi, my question is about the accident and fatality data that you all use to prioritize your very limited funding to address safety issues on our state highways. Why does CDOT have to wait until there's a fatality to improve safety in these roads when there are known safety issues on state highways?
Emily, and this is Jason Smith again, the regional director. And we don't necessarily. So, like I was mentioning before, we have different types of funding. Some of those funds, we go in there and we look for on standard roads where we see problems. They were built, 60 years ago that don't meet today's standards. We go in there and proactively try to widen the roads out, the template, soften the shoulders. So if you do run off the road, you can recover and even make the curves a little gentler and easier to drive. So we're constantly looking at making those improvements to avoid any accidents. But we do have funds that are tied to fatalities or accidents, and those we kind of strategically place where we've seen an issue, and so we can go make those improvements. But most of our dollars really go, we're trying to be proactive and get ahead of those accidents the best we can. And I think our teams are doing pretty good. Traffic fatalities in Colorado are down in 2025, which is a positive sign that state agencies continue to push towards a zero death on our roadways. Preliminary data shows right now that we have about a 21% decrease in overall traffic fatalities compared to this time last year. So I think our teams are doing good at looking at some of those areas of concern and trying to use our funds the best they can. But as we've talked about, it is challenging to try to find those areas and with today's dollars, trying to make them the most efficient as possible.
All right, thank you. Here are the results of our last survey question. We asked, of CDOT's three main priority areas discussed tonight, what do you think CDOT's top priorities should be? 47% said fixing our roads, 33% said sustainably increasing transportation choice, and 20% said advancing transportation safety. We really appreciate your input on all of these questions, and we're going to get back to your questions for the next few minutes. So press *3 if you'd like to get in the queue. I'm going to ask a question that came in again over the website. What's the fire impact been over the last 10 years? And I know Rick, you have an area that's very prone to fires. How does that impact CDOT's operations?
Well, obviously, we're particularly concerned about the wildfire situation, and we monitor very closely where the fires are occurring and how they might jeopardize transportation systems throughout the region. As the last few years have demonstrated that, it's increasing, and therefore our vigilance has to increase as well regarding this. And we saw some significant fires a couple of years ago that shut down highways, and traffic had to be rerouted. And we try to avoid that, but safety is the primary concern for not just those working to fight the fire, but those who are traveling through the area.
Herman, CDOT's always faced with financial, there's more projects than money available. Are there any plans to charge electric vehicles to use the road since they aren't paying fuel tax?
Yeah, thanks, Roger. It's a good question. In Colorado, we already have a fee. Electric vehicle owners pay an annual fee that's in addition to their regular registration fees. The current fee is $57.19 for the current fiscal year that ends this June 30th, and it includes an inflationary adjustment. There's also a road usage equalization fee, which is $12 for all electric vehicles and $8 for all plug-in hybrid electric vehicles for this current fiscal year, and those are inflation adjusted. So Colorado has been a leader in making sure that we've got the electric vehicles paying their fair share. And it's interesting, about 2 weeks ago that congressionally, the transportation chairman in Congress, in the House, has proposed a similar fee, I think $200 or $250 for electric vehicles. So when they start to consider reauthorizing the federal transportation package, they may include an electric vehicle fee as well. So we're a little ahead of the game for Congress, but they're starting to come along.
We hear, Rick, we hear a lot about dangerous potholes, and people, it irritates people to death. Jason or Rick, what are you all doing about potholes, and what's the progress? How do you keep after all those potholes?
Well, it's definitely challenging. Coming out of a winter, conditions, our teams are always faced with many potholes and trying to do the best they can to get out there as quickly as they can to get them filled. Some of the challenges we face right now with potholes is, still a lot of moisture coming down, freeze-thaw cycles. So sometimes we fill them, and at night or the next day they pop open again. So there's a constant battle with the potholes. But no, we do appreciate customers letting us know when there are potholes. We do have a CDOT customer service line in each region of the state. So if you visit CDOT, and search for customer service, you can call in and you can report those potholes in those areas. The phone number is 970-350-2368. We'd be happy to hear from you.
Commissioner, why do we need a 2050 transportation plan? I'm just wondering from a policy perspective, why do we need a transportation plan?
Well, just like any organization, it's good to have the proper vision and get a sense of where you're headed, and that includes those of us in the transportation world. We want to have a full idea of what our what potential we have, what are some of the issues that we'll face, and what we can do to minimize any issues that might be coming forward in the future. Transportation planning is a deliberate, thoughtful, and structured process to help make the best decisions for Colorado's traveling public. CDOT works very closely with a wide range of stakeholders, particularly those on the city and county level, to plan for what investment we need to do in the future, and what requires, what will be the best solutions for transportation problems in the future. We want to identify them now so that we're not caught, shall we say, in arrears 10 years down the road.
So, Jason, it's every 10 years. How does CDOT track? That means you just did a plan 10 years ago. How does CDOT track progress, and if the plan is working?
Well, let me take that one. One of the things I learned when I first got on this commission was that CDOT maintains an updates progress on their 10-year plan by way of, first of all, quarterly reports, and there's a dashboard, CDOT Accountability Dashboard, which you can see on the web. The Accountability Dashboard provides project expenditure information at statewide and CDOT engineering levels. So we can get a very good sense of where a project stands and what capabilities are left, or what's left in a project. And so we keep pretty close contact with each project and where it stands, particularly both in terms of how much is accomplished to date and how much money has spent towards that project.
We had a caller that did not want to go live, but she was asking about county crossings on US 40 in Routt County. Who wants to maybe do a little briefing on that?
Okay. County crossings, Routt County. We've got a number going on, and I know that Jason will jump in on this, but we've got county crossings going on at Downhill Drive. We've been looking at funding in terms of different ways for the Montessori School project. We've reviewed the traffic signal study put forth by Routt County, and CDOT receives 6 applications this year, typically. So, various crossings in Routt County, it was a very competitive year. The one in particular, in terms of Brandon Circle, did not meet some of the cost-benefit scores. We are looking at different ways of funding that. Jason, do you want to add to that?
I think you covered it very well, Commissioner. We're looking to partner with Routt County and see what we can do to come up with, a grade-separated crossing in that area. We recognize there are some challenges where we could put, a signal. It doesn't warrant a signal, so we're looking at what we can do to go ahead and try to build an offline crossing somewhere along that section of road that will meet the needs of the locals.
Okay, let's go back to a question that came in from the website. Can more be done about rock falling on the road?
Yeah, I'll jump in there, Roger, on this one. We have a rockfall program, so we're constantly monitoring and looking for some of our hazardous areas that we, seem to be a common factor that we have to go visit and work on. We do a lot of rockfall fencing projects. We tie rocks back. We do scaling. So we do quite a few projects. And anytime we have a bigger project on the roadway in that area, we also look, for any opportunities to mitigate any of those issues as well. But we do have rockfall projects. Our maintenance teams, they're out there constantly trying to monitor themselves and look for any issues. It's a hard challenge, in the spring especially. Once we get these freeze-thaw cycles and things start popping loose, we monitor quite a few active areas as well with some technology, with cameras and thin instruments to see if there is any movement along those sections. But we can't cover them all. It's very expensive, and it's a hard one to do. But our teams are constantly scouring the hillsides, trying to look for any of the potential problems that could come down and trying to mitigate them as quickly as possible.
All right. I think we're pretty close to the end of our time. There was one comment that came in about pavement. And she was concerned that you don't pave thick enough. It seems like you do a thin coat and we have to repave every year or so. Do you want to talk about that, Jason? What's the science behind paving?
Sure, I'll jump in there. So, you would think thicker pavement would always be better. Concrete's a little thicker than our asphalt pavement because asphalt is a flexible pavement. It's made to move a little bit, and to handle, soils that might be moving. And so then it's flexible and it allows it then to adjust and we can grind it a lot easier and modify it if needed. But a thicker pavement comes with problems. One thing's the initial cost of it, if you're doing asphalt, to put it down, multiple layers. But once it's there, if you start having a problem with the structure itself, the roadway, it's very expensive then to go back, especially if that problem isn't down in deep in the layer of asphalt. Then you have to try to recycle or, mill all that asphalt up to replace it or repair it. So our programs right now, we have a thinner section of asphalt that we use. We design it based on our trucks, basically, the roadway use in that area and how many easels, that's what we call them. So it's calculated out what's the needed structure for the pavement design, and then we go out and build it. And that, is really a 20-year life cycle design. We can come in, don't always completely replace it after 20 years, but what we then do is look at it, after about that 11, 12 years, we start monitoring it and trying to figure out, can we do something cheap like, mill and fill the top of that and keep that structure in good condition so we don't have to replace the entire structure because, like I said, it's very expensive to start over and redo it. All
right, we have time for one more question that came in on the website. Let's talk about Vail past progress? There's a lot happening. What are the impacts going to be like this summer?
Yeah, we're going to see some, 20-minute closures this summer. So we have some work going on in the canyon. So we do have some of that rockfall going on. So they'll be working at blasting, doing some rockfall mitigation, some of the curves. So we will have to shut down traffic incrementally for some holes. And then they're also going to have some helicopter flights bringing in some materials for the avalanche mitigation as well. So we have to hold traffic for that as long as is needed for get those repairs made and have all the materials brought in as well. So this summer's our big year for Velpass. You're going to see basically starting right now, and we're working on the bridge in the eastbound direction, and then we're also doing the roadway work up at the top of the hill to give the aux lanes and provide that extra capacity and expansion. Most of that work will be back on the main alignment by the wintertime, and then next year we'll be back in there doing some minor improvements to clean up and more of the landscaping stuff for next year.
Jason, do you have any other regional happenings or accomplishments you'd like to talk about as we wrap up tonight?
Yeah, like I mentioned previously, over the past planning cycles, we've prioritized improvements along State Highway 131, State Highway 13, and State Highway 9 corridors. These improvements include things like realignments, shoulder widening, safety enhancements, and even wildlife mitigation measures. As you probably recall, State Highway 9 in that area around Kremling had the first wildlife overpasses in the state. So this area, this district, is kind of leading in some of the advancement of wildlife mitigation. With much of that work now completed, our focus has shifted more to key projects along the US 40 corridor. This includes safety improvements at Red Dirt Hill between Granby and Fraser, and additional passing lanes between Craig and Steamboat Springs. We're also advancing signal upgrades in Craig and developing designs on wildlife mitigations near Maybell, which is west of Craig. In the Kremling area, we've completed a passing lane project near Wolfwood Reservoir, and we're evaluating opportunities for shoulder widening both east and west of town. Beyond US 40, we've made progress across the region. In Jackson County, we completed culvert and drainage improvements on State Highway 125 to enhance flood resilience. In Moffat County, resurfacing projects on State Highway 317, and safety upgrades near Dinosaur have improved travel reliability. In Routt County, we've implemented slope stabilization measures on State Highway 131, installed new guardrails in high-risk areas. And then meanwhile, in Rio Blanco County, we've completed bridge maintenance on State Highway 64 and continue to explore opportunities for wildlife fencing and signage on key stretches of State Highway 13. With rising construction costs, we're taking a strategic approach to ensure every investment addresses the most pressing transportation and safety needs in northern Colorado.
And finally, Commissioner Ritter, do you have some final thoughts for the audience tonight?
Yeah. First of all, I'd like to thank everybody who joined this Teletown Hall. Very informative, very helpful for those of us who have to make some decisions about expenditures and policy in Northwest Colorado. It's been a very helpful discussion. We, most importantly, though, want to thank you for taking the time to provide the feedback to help us guide our efforts. And again, ultimately, this Teletown Hall was about listening to you, and ultimately will result in us further identifying the transportation needs in the area. It doesn't stop with just this phone call. If you have other questions or concerns, feel free to give further feedback directly by visiting our website, yourtransportationplan.com, with your comments, concerns, and we'll get back to you. Thank you all very much for being engaged in this, and it was extremely helpful.
Thank you, Commissioner. We're sorry if we didn't get to your question, or if you thought of something here at the last minute. Stay on the line. You can leave us a message, question, or comment. You'll be directed to a voicemail system. On behalf of Commissioner Ritter, Director Smith, our panelists tonight, and the hardworking public servants at CDOT, we appreciate you taking part in this event. Please drive safe and have a good evening.